Hello, friends, and welcome to the Every Touch Matters podcast. Here we dive into how every touch point matters in business, impacting leadership, reputation, and professional success. And joining me remotely today is my guest, and I would say a really good friend, Sean Hand. Sean is a seasoned tax consultant and business development leader who spent over 15 years at KPMG, becoming the youngest senior director of business development and generating over $150 million in net new business. He's also a best selling author of That Was Awkward: 7 Secrets of an Awkward Networker. Please pick it up. And founder of Selling by Hand, where he coaches professionals on networking excellence and succeeding in today's hybrid business world, even when networking doesn't come naturally. I am really excited to chat with Sean today about relationship building, navigating networking scenarios, and how authentic connections can drive professional success. Sean, thanks for joining us.
Dave, thanks for having me, and I would consider you a friend as well, so I'm glad you included that in the intro.
Well, listen, pal, when we have a shared experience going to Wrigley together last year for your first trip, that was an important moment, a seminal moment. You know, I've been to Philly and Phillies games, but you had not been to a Cubs game at Wrigley. So for me to be that purveyor of that moment, I was honored.
And Dave, we saw a combined no-hitter, man, so maybe you have to have me back there. I don't know.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. And the Cubs are kind of on a roll these days, so that's kind of good. Sean, really, really excited to have you. You know, we've only known each other, I'm going to say about a year or so. And what's interesting is I was introduced to you through an individual, a former colleague from KPMG, who saw one of my early versions either of the podcast or some post I put out there. Kind of liked the message. I had a nice chat with him. I believe he's a partner in the Philly office. And he said, you know, you got to talk to this young guy, Sean Hand. He's just off on his own, starting his own gig. And I think you guys have some similar experiences and stories to share into the marketplace. So that was our connection, if you recall. So Sean, let's call out the elephant in the room, okay? You're a technical person by trade. You're originally a tax consultant, a billable professional, much like many of the individuals, all of the individuals that I work with, right? Subject matter expert, out there billing, hitting utilization targets, client deliverables. You did that for a number of years, and somehow you pivoted into biz dev, okay, into revenue generation, into selling. Not always a good word within the consulting rank and file. In fact, it tends to strike fear in the heart of many. But you decided to do that. Help me understand what happened. Was it, I don't know, a crazy moment of yours?
It was, and it isn't typical. Going from a consultant in the field with the clients to now being on the business development side, you're right. Sales is the dirtiest 5-letter word in the English language in the services industry. And so because of that, we'll use every euphemism we can in the dictionary to not use the word sales. So it's business development, client development, account management, client account management. I mean, we'll use every euphemism not to use the word sales. And the part that I like to teach my students, the people that come through my program as well, is like, you don't have to be the sell me this pen, Wolf of Wall Street, Boiler Room, Glengarry Glen Ross. That's the Hollywood depiction of sales. Those are the examples that we conjure up when we hear the word sales. Sales is really just building deep relationships. And that's why my motto is always the same. It's revenue follows relationships. People are going to do business with people that they like and that they want to work with. Now, back to my tax days, I think I always saw that as the ultimate goal. And the part that I like to impart upon younger professionals, while that was always my goal, I still needed those 5 years in tax to get a basis, to have 9 busy seasons, to be in the trenches, to have those deadlines, because that was important for me moving into what I ultimately wanted to do was business development. So because I had that as a strategy, eventually I want to be tip of the spear, bringing in business, knowing that was a strategy. Those 5 years weren't wasted.
Yeah.
Those 5 years, I was learning the technical side of the business that would just make me a stronger business developer whenever I got there. And for younger people, I feel like sometimes they feel 2 years if they don't like what they're doing. Oh no. And they have these existential crises. All the time that you spend doing technical work is going to help you be a better salesperson when you get to that point.
Well, let's keep going on that, if you don't mind. Again, you're unique. Most of the individuals I work with, and some of the individuals you work with, are those billable professionals. They don't necessarily aspire to go sell anything, but they're now being asked to go do it. You have to. You can't be a one-trick pony anymore. If you're just technical, let's be honest, AI is taking over some of your technical expertise. Outsourcing has taken over elements of your technical expertise. A headcount reduction or a challenge in terms of growth of the business, some tough decisions may have to be made about who's in and who's out. And I think those individuals who can demonstrate they can be a two-trick pony, not only technically competent, but also build relationships and drive revenue, are going to be safer in that kind of environment, risky environment. But you made that change. Most folks don't aspire to that. And so you don't just decide that I'm going to go sell $150 million worth of net new business. There had to be some moments along the way that directed you. Tell me about that.
Definitely. Let me take the first part first. So
Okay.
I agree with you. There are most consultants and audit, tax, advisory, engineering, law firms. There's a lot of people who are technically subject matter experts. That is their vocation. That's what they've committed themselves to. Now, here's what happens. They move up in the firm, whatever the industry, then they have to start managing people. Usually that's the next step, is you become a manager, a team leader. So they have to learn the management side of the business. Okay, they're kind of on their second career now. They have to learn how to manage people, be a people leader. And then they continue to matriculate, they continue to move up in the organization. And now they're told, as you alluded to, you have to be a part of the sales engine of the firm. And a lot of these people, and I can't fault them for it, they're like, this is my third career I have to learn. I just want to do the audits. Like, why do I have to keep learning all of these other skills? How come the salespeople don't have to learn how to do, tax compliance,
the technical stuff,
or internal audit, or the technical stuff? How come they don't have to do that? I have to learn all this stuff. So there's a little bit of a pushback, and I get it. What I like to tell people is, you are the subject matter expert, but as an outsider, someone that was in sales for a while, I'm so jealous of the people that I teach. I'm like, you don't understand how easy you have it. All you have to learn how to do is have a little bit more of a sales mindset, doing the thing that you know inside and out. When I was in sales, I was selling at any point 200 plus different services, Dave, that I knew nothing about. Nothing. So, you talk about an SAP implementation, or a Workday implementation, or an internal audit co-source, whatever. I can talk the talk for about 3 minutes, and then I'm done. So all I can do is pique their interest, set the table, bring in the actual subject matter experts, and they're the ones who ultimately bring it through. Now, you think about these people who are the doers. If all we have to do is just, as you always say, move the needle a little bit and just get them out there having a business development mindset, listening for triggers, building deeper relationships with their clients, identifying new opportunities to work with them. At any point, they want to learn more about the service. They have the subject matter expert right there in front of them. It's you, right? You don't have to call in a team. And so for me personally, back to the second question, when I made that transition over, it was difficult because I love KPMG, great culture, still a lot of my friends there. They're one of my bigger clients. I love them. The one thing that they always wanted us to do is think about what's our highest and best use to the firm. And after about 4 or 5 years in the technical role, they were very honest with me. They're like, look, technically, meh, you're okay. You're no one's clamoring at the wall saying, I need this guy, Sean. He's so technical. That's never happened, not once. However, they pointed out to me, you seem to work really well with the clients. They enjoy working with you. They might call and say, hey, is Sean around? I would love to have him on this call. Already they were starting to see maybe this is a really good place for you to go. So I can't take full responsibility. They definitely pointed out your highest and best use may be over here, building the client relationships. And so that combined with the fact that, and I won't get into the story, but combined with the fact that I got the job at KPMG, having never taken an accounting or finance course in college, which I'm sure they don't like me saying, but I got the job through networking, through relationship development. and I met the managing partner at the time at a charity event when I was in college. We hit it off, had a great couple of meetings. He was like, hey, come interview, maybe your international economics degree could tangentially apply. Here are the tax codes, study up in case someone asks you. And that's how I got the job. So you look at these case studies throughout those 5 years, and there's one after another where I go, if I wasn't good at the relationship side of this, I would have either never been hired or would have been out a long time ago.
Well, I the great story. So, how you got hired was you were connected through your networking, and we're going to talk about your business in just a second. And then how you were suggested to find your way to transition from delivery into BD also has to do with some of your relationship skills and your ability to engage. And who was the individual who said, I think BD might be a path for you? Wasn't that person from a technical bent? And did they have optics on being able to pick and choose someone like yourself who could be good at that side of the business?
Yes and no. So it was, I would say people, I'll call it maybe 3 people who really started to say, hey, this is something that you should pursue. I think you'd be good at it. I don't think any of them really had the cachet at the time to say, stroke of the pen, you are now in market development, you are now in business development.
Yeah.
Moving over to the market development side was politically, challenging. It took some doing, moving out of a billable role into a sort of market development, sales enablement role. That was a little bit different. But once I moved over and it was a lateral move and I did well, it was all good there. Then after a couple of years, I really wanted to move over into the BD side, authentic, carrying a bag, having a quota, authentic BD. And that was probably about 7 or 8 years before the end of my career at KPMG. At that time, Dave, that's where I had some challenge because they wanted seasoned sales professionals, right? And they didn't see that in me. That wasn't on my resume. So the challenge for me then was to package up the 6-7 years of experience I had at KPMG in technical roles to say, yes, I don't have the authentic sales experience. However, if you look at the body of work that I've done while I'm here, what you're going to see is someone who's setting himself up for a BD role at KPMG. What are you going to do when you hire someone from the outside? First thing you're going to do is give them an 18-month runway for them to learn the services, learn our clients, learn our culture, build an internal network. Because like I said, you have an opportunity, great. But who are you going to bring? You might have to know someone out in LA. You might have to know that subject matter expert in Dallas. I know those people. So that was my business case was, yes, I only have 7 years experience, but 7 years within our organization.
Yep.
That has to magnify for something when I'm having business development related conversations with clients and prospects. That still fell on mostly deaf ears. No experience, no hire. Like it's not going to happen. And I talked about this in a recent article, but you mentioned some internal stakeholders. I'm a big proponent of internal networking, building those key mentorships and relationships with key decision makers. There was one individual in particular, he's on our senior executive committee team in New York, and I made this bold move. I told him a white lie. I said, I'm going to be in and out of New York the next couple of weeks. Do you have 15 minutes?
Yep.
I wasn't in and out of New York, but
sure,
if he said yes, that was the day I was going to be in and out of New York. So he was really nice. He gave me a little 15-minute slot. I took the Excella from Philly up to New York, walked into his office. I had a 20-page slide deck business case for why I should be a business development director. Yeah. I put it in front of him, and very gracious. He's an incredible person. He looked at it, and it was a power move. He goes, "Can I just look at the last page and see what you want?" Yeah. I said, "Yeah, go for it." So he looked at it. He's like, "You want to be in business development. What's in your way?" And I said, honestly, it's just the doors seem to be locked. And I tried to unlock it. I couldn't. I tried to crack a window. Still can't. I'm trying to find fire exits. I'm trying everything. I need a battering ram.
Yeah.
Just be honest. I need someone to kick the door down because I'm all out of options.
Yeah.
And that was it. And we left. And I called my wife on the drive home. She said, "How'd it go?" I said, "I had a meeting that will decide the fate of my career. So hopefully it's for the better." Yeah. And luckily he kicked the door down and said, "Hey, listen to this guy, give him a shot." And then the rest that moved over.
The rest is history. What a great story, a story of resilience, being hungry, really wanting it, Sean. You talk about, hey, we need experience, right? And you said something that just nailed it on the head. We're going to hire, someone from outside, many years of experience, has a book of business. We're going to give them an 18-month runway, like you said. And there's no guarantees they're going to work out. Oh, by the way, you're paying a lot of money to those individuals. So you got about a 50-50 chance of them succeeding or not. You had such a leg up. And unfortunately, I think that is a little bit of a blind spot for consulting firms, recognizing the few individuals like yourself wired to be technical, but also have an appetite for revenue generation. Those are the folks you want to invest in my opinion. Those are the folks who really are should stand tall. There was another seminal moment in your career. Okay. You're now 15 years into KPMG, and you decided to roll the dice and go start your own gig. There was some other hunger, some other need, some other itch to scratch. Tell me about that, and tell me a little bit more about the business and what you're doing these days.
It's one of those things that was in the back of my mind for a while. So KPMG was great in that they let me publish my book while I was there. They let me get on the public speaking circuit. So they let me build a bit of a runway, build Awkward Networker as a brand. They saw the quid pro quo. They saw how it would benefit them. And as long as I maintain all my independence regulations and all that good stuff, they're like, hey, do what you want. When you're not working, and as long as you're hitting your goals, obviously that's number one.
Yeah.
As long as you're hitting your goals, if you want to go golf or you want to go do a speaking event, what do we care, right? The speaking event stuff, that's going to help us anyway. It's going to help elevate the brand. So it was a great relationship there. There came a point, though, that I had to say no to a lot of things because it would have either been in conflict with KPMG or because I just didn't have the bandwidth. And so that continued for about a year. But I just used them as proof points of like, maybe there is a demand. Maybe there is something out there. And I eventually sat down right before the holidays with my lead partner that I work with on a daily basis, great guy, and just told him, I'm like, look, you know that this has always been sort of a passion of mine. I've been here 15 years. I'll be here another 15. I know it. You know it. No one's kicking me out. I love it here. Love the culture. Feel like I'm a part of the family. I have to go see what this is about. I can't wait for another 15 years and then lose all the momentum, lose all the hunger, lose all of that. I have to go see what it is. And so I said, give me a year. So I'm going to go out for a year. At the end of that year, I'm going to ask myself 3 questions. Only at the end of the year, not during. There's 3 questions are, am I having fun? Am I making enough to support my family? I have 3 young kids. It's a lot of pressure. And am I spending enough time with them? Because I know entrepreneurship can really suck you in and destroy your work-life balance. So at the end of that year, I'll ask myself those 3 questions. If I say no to any one of those 3, I'll be right back here figuring out how I can fit back in. And to a person, I was shocked by this, honestly. To a person, everyone was so supportive and they were so excited for me. Go get out there, get on the speaking circuit, get on the training circuit, build out the content. We'll be following, we'll be cheering along. So last thing I'll say, Dave, is I did some market research before I left KPMG. Hey, Dave at XYZ company, thinking about going out, building my own trading practice, my own, public speaking business and coaching business all around relationship selling and building deeper relationships and networking. Would you hire me? Because I need to know all of these people. I had a set list of about 10 people that were like, tomorrow, Sean, like leave. Wow. What are you still doing there? We're ready to hire you. Not a single one of them followed through that first year with any contracted work. And so my first lesson was just in versatility of like, you think you have it, and then you realize verbal commitments mean nothing. That's a verbal commitment. It's a good indicator. But until someone's hired you, a verbal commitment is just a verbal commitment. And now I'm on the other side, feeling great. I have a nice set of clients. I'm doing really well and staying very busy. So
it's a wonderful story, Sean. And I think any entrepreneur can take note of the path, because it's never easy. It shouldn't be easy. That's why very few people go out and do this. But you weathered the storm those first 6 months, and those individuals you You asked, would you hire me? Yeah, listen, they were well intended.
Yeah,
At the very least, they were a vote of confidence. If you didn't get those nudges, you wouldn't be here today, right? So, yeah, they didn't pay you per se, but they at least pushed you out of the nest.
that's right. That's right.
And look at where you are now. So I'm really, really, really happy for you. So tell me again, just the fundamentals around selling by hand and your firm and who you're targeting and what service offerings you're bringing to the table.
The easiest way to put it, Dave, is I help services organizations and the leaders of those organizations. I help them answer the big question that they all have right now, which is, can that next in line, that next generation, can they continue to sell and grow the business the way I need them to sell and grow the business for the sustainability of the firm? So audit tax advisory firms, law firms, engineering firms, you name it, a lot of professional financial services, financial investment management services, those services business that rely heavily on people building deep relationships in order to sell. Sometimes I work with sales teams, internal sales, external sales. By and large, I work similar to you, Dave. I work with the people who are on the ground doing the work, but eventually, because they're doing so well, are going to find themselves sitting in front of a panel, and that panel is going to say, you've been doing great work, Dave. What are you going to do to bring in business to continue to grow the business the way we need you to make room for you as partner? Those are the people. I do half-day coaching sessions, full-day coaching sessions, one-on-one, small group coaching. We kind of mix and match whatever the client needs. 3, 6, 9 months. That's the delivery system, and that's really what I focus on.
Got it, Sean. So thank you for that. And for those who are listening at home, they might be thinking, gee, Dave, that sounds a lot like your business. You're
Yeah.
interviewing a competitor, aren't you? To a certain degree, I am. However, I would say that the market is big enough for all of us. I also think that you have a little bit different angle on some of the things that you're teaching. I think early on, you weren't just services, you were working with other non-service firms. Networking was sort of your lead. Maybe that has changed a little bit. Also, I will tell you, doing a lot of one-on-one or one-on small group coaching is really not part of my business model. Mine
Mhm.
tends to be one-on-many, a lot of one-on-many. My belief is, I'm sure it's like yours, there's a lot of technical professionals out there. Everybody needs help. And if we're going to affect the overall industry and raise the watermark, we've got to touch a lot of people in terms
That's
of
right.
their performance. So it's a target rich environment. But
Yeah.
are you just exclusively services now, or are you also dabbling in some other industries?
Right now, it's exclusively services. You're right. Early on, I mean, 3 kids, they eat
Do
a
what you
lot.
can.
I
Sure.
do what you can. Right now, I'm focused solely on services and some financial services as well. But Dave, to your point, I was just on another podcast with a friend of mine, and we were talking about this dynamic where she also started her own business. We're out here, we're building. And I was talking about you without using your name, but I was saying there's this thing that happens where you come out, you have this idea, you want to grow it. And then you see these people that have been doing it for 25, 30 years. Their platform is massive. Their client list is enviable. They have all this support, back office, it's intimidating. And you have 2 options when you find these people. You can say, forget it, it's already been done, and let that trump anything that you were planning to build. Or you can, like you and I, like build relationships. You can flatten the learning curve for me. I know you're an abundance mindset type person, and you did. You were always there to say, hey, you should think about saying this instead. I think that'll help you. And building that kind of mentorship meant a lot to me. So I want to make sure you know that.
Well, thank you, Sean. I appreciate that. First of all, I don't have a huge back office. I appreciate it. In 20 years, you better have built a platform. And so I'd
Yeah.
like to think we have. I love meeting people who are wired a lot like me, and you're one of them. You get it. You understand the push and pull between sales and delivery within the services context. And people need help. And that's how you grow and scale a services firm. You need other people with the mindset of building relationships and uncovering deal flow. And when we do that, we scale revenue. If we're only looking to our biz dev and our handful of key rainmakers to drive all the revenue, and I got to put 15% more growth through the business next year through that same pipe, that's inherently not scalable. So onboarding this next generation is so important. So congrats to you. Let me ask you, we haven't really touched on every touch matters, every touch point matters. Let me be clear. My girls, twin daughters made it real clear, Dad, you got to be careful about every touch matters. So I get that. And so it's interchangeable. Every touch point matters, but every interaction matters, man. And one of them is you and me. It's just, you never know how something might play out. And we have to make sure all of our client facing individuals feel that have a stake in shaping that client experience. It's not only the senior people, but everyone all the way down to the new associate feels that they have a stake in shaping that client experience positively or negatively. And so I really believe that when we have orchestrated touches and interactions and across the team, and we're showing up as strategic trusted advisors and adding value and listening and asking great questions, and that's how we separate ourselves. We differentiate ourselves in a hugely commoditized world called professional services. And so that's sort of why I came up with this mantra. What does it mean to you?
I love the every touch matters concept because it is part and parcel to everything that I've lived and teach as well. It does all matter. And I borrowed a method from this guy Mark LeBlanc, great writer, great speaker, great luminary in building your own business, building consulting practice. He was like, you can use this, do it. And it's his 3 essential outreaches. I do this every morning. It's a written note, a handwritten letter. I know it's crazy. You put it in the mailbox. This person comes and gets it and delivers it. It's called mail. A email and either a text message or a DM on LinkedIn. And it's every morning cup of coffee. This is what I do before I start my day, before my day gets crazy and the calls and the meetings. And what it ensures, if you do this Monday through Friday, that's 780 outreaches to your network. Now, what does this do? The text message, I sent one yesterday to a friend. I haven't talked to this person for about 18 months. All the text message said was, hey, thought of you the other day, thought I'd check in and see how you're doing. How's everything going? In this case, how's the new family? Because he just had a baby. How's the family?
Yeah.
What do you think that person, this guy, in this case, his name is Dom, what do you think he's thinking when he gets that text message? What do you want? Right? What do you want? It's been 18 months. You're randomly reaching out. You want something. What is it? And the thing is what I love about like the every touch matters is like, I don't want anything. And he comes back and forth. We had this exchange. And in the end, he's left with the understanding that Sean was literally just texting me to check on me and see how I'm doing because he didn't want anything. That's what relationships are. That's what friendships are. And what's this mean? Well, this isn't the reason for it, but if 2 years from now, I do need something because he is a decision maker at something, or I don't know, I need to get into an organization and he's on the board. I don't know, anything. I want to get on some more podcasts and he has a podcast. Like, I'm just making it up. When I text him with that ask, or if I call him, he's going to answer the phone and be like, yo, Sean, what's up, man? How you been? Because we have a relationship based on the premise that I will check on you like I will any other friend. I won't just use you when I need something. And that's what those 3 essential outreaches allow.
Well, it's a great learning, and love that. I'm gonna be a little bit more rigorous and disciplined on applying it. But you're nurturing that relationship, you're nurturing your network, you're staying top of mind. It's not we're in it to get something back, and that's what stops a lot of the people that I work with, and probably you work with, especially technical folks who've got a wonderful list of past relationships. They worked on projects together. They were my executive sponsor 6 years ago, but I moved on to another project. Right? It was a great relationship then. It's a little diluted now, and we haven't done a great job of staying fresh, continuing to nurture that. And when I do encourage my students to get back in front of the people that you have history with, and you never know, good things are going to happen. And what stops them is what you said earlier, and that is, oh, they're going to think I'm selling something. But when we just reach out simply to just say, how you doing? Just checking in. I'm going to own this. I haven't done a good job of staying in touch with you. Love to hear how you're doing, what's happening with you, business, family, whatever it might be. People are my students are so blown away by the response. People respond back, great to hear from you. It wasn't, what do you need? What are you selling me? Right? So, and they stop themselves And we miss these magic moments to
Yes.
reconnect with those that were important in our business careers, in our lives at one point.
100%. And you don't have anything to sell. And I get the same. Oh, and I work with a lot of engineering firms, and I love them. They
Yeah,
lean in. They know that
yeah.
they need this. So don't take this the wrong way. But that is the segment that I get the most pushback from my students, because they're like,
Mm,
"Why? No, 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 no. That's weird." I had someone tell me that, why would I send a handwritten note? Like, that's way too intimate. No one's
mm.
going to get a handwritten thank you and think you're falling in love with them. Like, what are you talking about? They'll think you spent an extra 10 minutes today
Yeah,
to have a little bit of an extra gesture because they mean something in your life. That's
yeah.
really all it is. The mental exercise I like to give people is I'll put them in the mindset. Let's say you've woken up today and you realized there's new leadership at my firm. I'm at a dead end job. I'm on the chopping block. I'm being furloughed. I've been pipped. Whatever. Now you're job hunting. When you put yourself in the mental state of I'm job hunting, all of a sudden think about all of the dormant relationships you revitalized, all
Yeah,
of
right.
the dusty conversations, that those email threads that died on your hands that you're going to reinvigorate because you need something. Do that now when you don't need anything, and do that tomorrow when you
Wow.
don't need anything.
Yeah.
That's going to prevent this expand and contract phenomenon that happens with our network, where we
Wow.
expand it because we need something, we get what we want, we get complacent, we get busy, all understandable things, and then the network contracts, and then slowly every month there goes another 2 relationships into the ether.
Yeah. Wow.
Keep it there, expand
Love
it
it.
and keep it
Right, right, right. Great, great story. Thank you. I love the analogy. Every touch point matters. Does that have legs in this world of technology and AI and outsourcing? At some point, do we still have a job, a career, a vocation doing this work?
In some cases, yes. In some cases, no. No, I can't forecast the future, and I'm obviously biased. That in that I would like it to work in our favor. The downside is it is definitely creating a less intentional interaction and communication vehicle. And by that I mean, right now, if you send me an email and you say, "Hey, that was a great podcast. Thanks for being on it," I will have an AI generated draft already that the technology does for me that says, "Hey, Dave, it was so great to be on there as well. Thanks for allowing me to share some insights," whatever. I don't like that side of it.
Mm,
I don't like
mm.
the fact that I can just write, "Dave, thank you. Good stuff. Talk later." And then it's going to pre-populate this nice, beautiful response. I feel like it's going to dumb us down, and it's going to atrophy those muscles that we have to use every day to be intentional about those relationships.
Yeah.
That's for sure the downside that I see, because I feel it, and I could see it with my own people. When I get a response from someone on my team and there's that M dash or best, I'm like, I know you used AI to send this email. That's not how you talk. That bugs me. On the plus side, I believe that there will be a sort of a snapback effect
Mm,
where eventually we're all going to realize that in this AI generated environment we're in, we are people. I always harken back to 2020 when everyone was convinced, maybe rightly so, but everyone was convinced conferences are done. We'll never shake hands again. I remember hearing in the headlines, handshakes dead, question mark, and this whole thesis about how we'll never be together again.
mm,
And I didn't believe it then, but people really meant it. The same thing with AI.
mm.
How far will it go to the point that we're going to push back and say, "No, I miss the embrace of walking into a room and hugging a couple of people and not having all this pre-programmed conversation, just having an authentic conversation." So maybe that's good for people like you and me. There will be this rebound effect if it happens, and you and I will be there to teach and coach and train these people.
Well, you've got a little more runway ahead of you than I do in terms of being in this business. So, uh,
I don't know,
uh,
man. I need the name of your moisturizer. I'm looking at both of our pictures right now, and you somehow, man,
uh,
looking good. So give
well,
me some tips there.
I love your perspective on that snapback and the fact that you're right. It is easier to sort of maybe respond and maybe nurture some relationships by having, a chat bot do the work for you. My belief is like yours, I think the market's coming to us. What I started 20 plus years ago, all around relationships, it was important then. I think it's more important than ever right
Mhm.
now. Okay. Because this commoditized world, this subject matter expertise, that's check the box table stakes. What else are you bringing to the table? Let's move on and start to wrap up if we could. You've gotten a little taste of my program, and I'm not asking you to endorse it, but you've seen kind of the flow of the types of content that we teach, and you know the intent. How do we activate consultants to step up their game, step into the void, build relationships, uncover deal flow, drive revenue on behalf of the firm? What's your takeaway from it?
You don't have to ask me to endorse it. I'm going to endorse it anyway. It is what you've built is really unique in that you've built a actual scientific framework around how doers can become what I call seller doers. But in your case, that activation model and having that relationship focused mindset for the technical people, it's huge. And the way that you've been able to frame it in such a way that it's an in-person thing, let's get together, let's do it, and then let's have some check-ins afterward. And oh, by the way, so this is something that I'm like, I need to get on Dave's level because this is something you do so well, is the relationship exchange through the podcast, through your LinkedIn activity and the LinkedIn groups. There is a alumni element to what you do and a continuous learning element to what you do that is really unique. And I don't see it a lot. And when I come in to talk to new clients, often the one thing that they tell me they're missing from other sales professionals sales trainers that have come through is exactly what I think you've perfected.
Well, thanks, Sean. If you're, listen, you may be alluding to, I know you're alluding to sort of the system and the process, and I believe that's critical, especially for technical people who are methodology centric. Give them a process, give them a framework. That's their safety net. But I also think you're talking about sort of that post learning experience where we continue to nurture the learnings, build community across the alumni network, continue to keep the concepts fresh with them, and just keep the saw sharpened, right? Because and oh, by the way, I think this is a big one. Those individuals are starting to get a little deeper into their career. They're in a position to be able to start modeling this behavior. So once you teach it, don't just keep it to yourself and execute yourself. You need to start modeling and pushing this down. The sooner we can put this into the hands of more junior client facing subject matter experts, the better the firm is going to be. So model behavior. And so we really want to continue to nurture that modeling exercise, if you will.
Dave, can I ask you a question? I know it's your podcast.
Of course, go ahead.
You said 20 years. I guess I've been in the working world, 18? In the 20 years from when you started doing this type of training and development to today, what have you seen in some of the macro changes in learning and development for relationship and business development at these professional services firms?
What I've seen, I think the big part from 20 years ago to now is back then, I don't think it was on the radar of a lot of professional services firms. I'm going to invest in my partners and my biz dev folks. Those are our revenue generators. They hadn't really thought about the next generation, manager, senior manager level in the big four vernacular, right? And more junior people. And so we had to start, first of all, I had to make the case, the business case, because it wasn't on anybody's radar. So I had to come in and make the business case. How about investing in the next generation? You're already paying them salary. They're already client facing. If you can get 25 people executing a few points better, do you think you might pick up 5 more pieces of business in the next year? What's your average deal size? $250,000. Potentially $1 million of lift in terms of revenue generation from a group of individuals that I don't have to make a huge investment in, but I do need to invest in them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and it's a great question, Sean, I think it's very much front and center for pro services firms. They're starting to realize, my gosh, we've got to start earlier. We've got, and the concepts that you and I teach are pretty straightforward. Nothing is beyond the most junior people, right? Keep it simple. And so, but we got to get them in the game earlier. And so budget is being earmarked for this sooner, whereas it wasn't before. Do you follow what I'm saying? I think that's the biggest change.
Do you
Okay.
think that in response to just general competitiveness in the market? Do you think that's in response to sort of the industry reaching a critical mass where, there's the partnership track isn't what it used to be, where, hey, you stay here long enough, do the job, do it well, manage well, and then a retired partner is going to give you a couple of key clients, and then you'll be responsible for building one or two. What do you think is precipitating that change over the last 2 decades?
I think it's all of those. I also think the big one is, how do I scale revenue as a professional services firm? I've run the drill. I've put more marketing programs out there. I've done search engine optimization. I've hired more sales guys. I've hired some rainmakers. Yeah, that gave us kind of a little bit of a lift, but it's the same old kind of a thing. And I think they're starting to recognize, if we're going to scale, we got to get more people in the game and off the sidelines. And if that's our more junior delivery resources, then great. They don't have to be salespeople. We just need them to take their blinders off, pick their heads up, pay attention. And if you hear something, say something. If there's another need, if I'm a state and local tax provider and I hear something in a project meeting about data analytics, I don't have to pipe up during the meeting and go, well, we can help you with that. No, you tell the partner in charge of the account, I think they're wrestling with something around data analytics. You might want to look into deal flow and opportunity that we might be able to get out in front of. So I just think it's a realization that we have a resource that has been not fully leveraged. And revenue scale is, to me, the driver of that. So great question, but thank you. We need to wrap up, my friend. I have one last question for you. What advice would you give the next generation, given your experience, given the fact that you've been on the delivery side, on the BD side? Now you look back, hindsight's 2020. What would you give those youngins who are just coming into the business market these days?
I would say look at what everyone else is doing and do something different, do something unique, create a pull environment. Everyone's pushing something, so look at what they're all pushing and then create a unique environment in which you're pulling interest towards you. The one thing I will say is, if you look at, I was a millennial. I think I'm an older millennial, but if you look at the millennial stigma when I was coming up, it was, the participation trophies. They want, they want ping pong in the office. They're not wearing ties anymore. And there was a lot of that generational labeling, right? You look at the generations afterward, it's sort of that, but more so. And it's, they're the digital age. They don't have interactions anymore. So look at the stigmas that are affecting your generation and go buck that trend. Do whatever you have to do to make sure that you stand out different than everything else that's going on. Dave, what you had alluded to when you and I had connected, you're like, I don't see a lot of you. And I'm not patting myself on the back. All I'm saying is, because I saw, what's my generation? What's the stigma? What can I do to be different than that? So I'm going to wear a suit jacket every day. I'm going to be ready for that Union League, highbrow dinner, because if the partner comes out and wants to invite one of the younger people and they look around, they see sweaters and then they see someone in a suit jacket, I'm the one they're going to pick. I always wanted to do something to make sure that I stood out amongst the generation. So you look at the young people, if everyone's on their phones, be the one that's sitting, looking around and just thinking. Be the one that's asking the question. I'll end with this.
Yeah.
I was doing a keynote for a group of associates and senior associates. The office managing partner was doing a 15-minute sort of State of the Union before I went on.
Yeah.
He said, "Are there any questions? I'm here. You have my time. Any questions?" There's probably 100 people in the room. No one raised their hand. I was sitting there stunned, not encouraging people to raise their hands and say dumb things just to get attention. But none of you, of the 100 of you, none of you had a curated question that you thought of beforehand that wasn't already answered, that was open-ended enough to stimulate conversation, smart enough to be interesting, maybe a little bold, just so that the office managing partner can see your face, say your name, and you can have something to follow up on. None of you thought of this.
Wow.
That's what I mean. If you are that generation, be that person, because when you think about it, it becomes very easy to differentiate yourself and to move up quicker within the organization.
Wow, Sean, great lessons learned, not only there, but also throughout our almost hour. I cannot thank you enough. I am delighted to call you friend. I'm proud of you and what you've done in the 18 months or so that you've been in business. You've weathered the storm, as I said before. Keep going. If I can do anything for you, you know I'm here. And again, thanks so much for being a part of our podcast.
I was honored to be part of it, Dave. Really, thank you so much for everything.
All right, pal. All the best.